You are not lazy. You are running on the wrong frequency. Those are two very different things. But the world taught you to treat them as the same. When a system is operating on the wrong frequency, it does not matter how hard you push it. It just burns faster. And that is exactly what you have been doing for years. Let me show you what I mean. Think about the last time you worked on something and completely lost track of time. No alarm, no reminder, no forcing. Hours passed and you did not notice. You were not tired at the end. You were charged. Now think about the last time you sat at a desk and tried to push through something that felt like dragging concrete across gravel. Every 10 minutes you checked the clock. Every hour felt like 3. You finished it, maybe, but the cost was everything you had. Same person, same brain, same day. Completely different result. The difference was not effort. The difference was frequency. This is not a metaphor. Every system in nature, electrical, biological, mechanical, has a frequency at which it operates most efficiently. Push energy through a circuit at the wrong frequency and you generate heat instead of light. Force a mechanical system to run at the wrong resonance and it shakes itself apart. The engineers who missed this destroyed machines. The ones who understood it built systems that ran for decades without failure. The same principle applies to the human mind. It is not poetic, it is physics. Here's what most people are never told. The feeling you call laziness is almost never laziness. It is your system's signal that something is misaligned. That the task in front of you, or the environment you are in, or the schedule you are following, does not match the frequency at which your particular mind actually operates. And instead of reading that signal correctly, you have been trained since childhood to override it. Push harder, try more, get up earlier, stay up later. The solution is always more force, never better alignment. Think about what that costs over time. Every day spent forcing a misaligned system is a day that produces heat instead of output. You are expending real energy, real hours, real attention, real mental capacity, and converting almost none of it into the thing you actually want to produce. You end the day exhausted but not satisfied, busy but not productive, moving but not advancing. And because the world around you confirms that effort equals value, you assume the problem is that you are not trying hard enough. So you try harder, and the system burns hotter, and still nothing changes. This is the trap, and it is almost invisible from the inside because the language we use for it points in entirely the wrong direction. We say discipline, we say willpower, we say work ethic. All of these words place the problem inside the person. The person is deficient. The person needs to be fixed. But what if the person is not deficient? What if the system they are running is simply misconfigured? Here is a thought experiment. Take a radio receiver, high quality, well-built, perfectly functional. Now tune it to the wrong frequency for the signal you want to receive. What do you get? Static, noise, nothing useful. Now ask yourself, is the radio broken? Is the radio lazy? Does the radio lack discipline? Of course not. The radio is fine. The frequency is wrong. The fix is not to punish the radio. The fix is to find the right frequency. You are the radio. And for most of your life, other people have been setting your frequency. School set it. School decided when you would think, for how long, on what subjects, in what sequence. It did not ask what your natural rhythm was. It did not care whether you came alive in the morning or at midnight. It did not distinguish between the mind that processes best in long, uninterrupted stretches and the mind that works in sharp, concentrated bursts. It picked one frequency for everyone and called deviation from it a problem. And if you happen to be one of the people whose natural frequency did not match the one being broadcast, you spent years being told in 100 subtle and not so subtle ways that something was wrong with you. Work set it. Careers, schedules, expectations, the requirement to perform at predictable intervals regardless of internal state. The meeting at 9, the report by Friday. The appearance of productivity measured in visible activity rather than actual output. All of it designed around a frequency that serves the system, not the person inside it. And again, if your natural operating rhythm did not align with the broadcast frequency, the gap showed up as underperformance. not as misalignment, as failure. And so the story became, I am not disciplined enough. I am not motivated enough. I am not trying hard enough. When the real story was always, I have been running at someone else's frequency for so long that I have forgotten I have one of my own. Now here's where it gets precise, because finding your frequency is not about doing whatever feels comfortable. It is not permission to avoid difficulty. It is not an excuse for the work that actually needs doing. Difficulty and misalignment are not the same thing. Hard work at the right frequency produces something. Hard work at the wrong frequency produces exhaustion and the illusion of progress. The distinction matters enormously, and most people have never been taught to feel the difference. What does the right frequency feel like? Not easy, not effortless, but purposeful. There is resistance, but the resistance has texture. It pushes back in a way that tells you something is being built. Wrong frequency resistance is different. It is flat, dense. It has no texture because nothing is being shaped. You are just pressing against a wall, and the wall does not move because the angle is wrong, not because you are not strong enough. Here is another way to see this. Every element has a resonant frequency. Hit a wine glass at exactly the right frequency and it rings. Hit it at the wrong one and nothing happens. Hit it at a frequency far enough off and it shatters. People are not so different. There are environments, problems, rhythms, and types of work that make certain minds ring. And there are environments that are simply the wrong frequency for that mind. Not wrong in some cosmic sense, just wrong for that particular system. The mind that rings when given a complex problem to work through alone in silence will not ring when asked to perform in rapid social exchanges. The mind that rings when moving between many ideas quickly will not ring when asked to sit with one thing for 6 hours. Neither is better. They are different instruments. And every instrument needs the right conditions to produce sound instead of static. Wait, because here is the part most people skip over. Knowing your frequency is not enough. The world will not simply reorganize itself around it. You will still have obligations, still have responsibilities, still have work that does not naturally align with your rhythm. The question is not how to eliminate misalignment. The question is how to minimize the time spent in it, and how to protect the time spent in alignment so fiercely that it actually produces something. This requires a kind of honesty that is genuinely uncomfortable, because it means admitting that some of what you have been calling productivity is not productivity. It is the performance of effort, the appearance of work, the activity that fills the hours without moving the needle. And identifying it means confronting all the stories you have built around being busy. All the identity wrapped up in the effort itself rather than the output. That is not easy, but it is the only way to stop burning. The people who produce genuinely extraordinary things over the course of a life are almost never the ones who worked the hardest in the conventional sense. They are the ones who found their frequency early, or stumbled into it, or fought their way back to it after years of operating at someone else's. And once they found it, they protected it, ruthlessly, unreasonably, by the world's standards. They said no to things that broadcast at the wrong frequency, even when those things came with money, approval, and social reward. They said yes to things that made them ring, even when those things looked strange from the outside, even when they could not fully explain to anyone else why. That is not indulgence. That is calibration. And the difference in output between a calibrated system and a miscalibrated one, compounded over years, is not small. It is the difference between a life that accumulates and a life that spends, between work that builds on itself and work that starts over every morning, between motion and momentum. Here is what I want you to do with this. Not tomorrow, right now in the next 10 minutes. Think about one thing in your daily life that consistently produces that flat, textureless resistance. The thing that leaves you exhausted without satisfaction. The thing you push through every time and tell yourself that pushing through is the point. Now ask a different question. Not how do I get better at this? Ask, is this actually my frequency? Is this producing anything, or am I converting energy into heat? And then think about one thing. 1 hour, one type of problem, one kind of work. where time has disappeared on you, where the resistance had texture, where something was actually being built. Whatever that is, it is a signal, not a preference, not a luxury. A signal about the frequency at which your particular system actually operates. The laziness was never real. The failure of motivation was never the problem. The problem was frequency, and frequency can be found. It takes honesty, and it takes time, and it takes the willingness to stop mistaking effort for alignment. But it can be found. And when it is, the difference is not gradual. It is immediate. The static clears, and you finally hear what you were always capable of producing. If something in this landed, leave it in the comments. What is the thing that makes you ring? And what has been broadcasting at the wrong frequency for too long? That is worth knowing. And if you want to keep pulling at these threads, the next one is already waiting.